Hi there, I'm Meg Viviano from Chesapeake Bay Magazine. As you can see, we're here in Annapolis and we are talking Blue Angels. I am joined by Ward Carroll, who is a former fighter pilot backseater, the goose to the maverick, if you will. And he is an expert on all things fighter jet and has a lot of insight about the Blue Angels. So Ward, I'd love to talk to you about what might really be going on when we see these shows that look so impressive in the air, but we don't know much about what the pilots are thinking.
What you will notice is there's a bus, a white bus that's centrally located. And the reason that bus is there, and also as folks know, that 450 is shut down for before and after each show day, but that bus is the Blue Angel number one's visual reference for the center line of the show.
And today is a drizzly day. It's kind of cloudy, not the nicest, certainly not clear. If that is the kind of day you get on show day, what happens? Do they go on if it's drizzling?
It depends. So as we're sitting here right now, I'm thinking this would be a no-go, primarily because it looks like the ceiling is below 1,500 feet. That's the minimum they can do for their low show. And also, we can barely see the chapel dome. So I don't think we have 3 miles of horizontal visibility. So those two things are required to do even the lowest show.
Now, the moves that we see the Blue Angels do, are these things that would happen in actual missions, or are these just to show off the precision that these pilots are able to perform?
That's a great question. The Blue Angels are not stunt pilots. They are above average, I would say average Navy pilots, but they're just trained like every Navy jet pilot and Marine Corps jet pilot from flight school through the fleet. The requisite amount of time you have to even apply for the Blue Angels is 1,500 hours in tactical jets. Not helicopters, not prop planes, but tactical jets. So once you get selected to join the Blue Angels, and it's kind of a rush process that's very intense, beyond just accepting orders as you would, I'm on sea duty, now I'm going to shore duty. It's more than just that. So there is a vetting process that's pretty intense. But if you make that, then you go to El Centro for some months, the winter training, learn the routine, and then become a Blue Angel. But there's no other special training. So what you see are really tight formations doing a specific series of maneuvers that are specific to the Blue Angels. Flying formation is something we do out in the fleet to get aboard the aircraft carrier or even land at the field. You fly close formation. But the Blue Angels routine is specific. However, it is sort of relevant in that it demonstrates the precision required to perform the missions that we do out in the fleet.
So let's talk about some of these maneuvers that the Blue Angels are capable of, the ones that we know so well from having seen the shows. We know the diamond formation, that's how they start the show. Tell us about some of the others.
So first let's talk about the diamond. So the thing that you may not know about the diamond is if you're watching from here in Eastport or on the Naval Academy on Hospital Point and you see the diamond, it looks like it's symmetric when you're on the ground, but actually it's not. They fly it where 2 and 3 are not evenly spaced relative to 1 and 4, so that the sight line, the parallax from the ground looks like it's symmetric. So that's one thing to note. So at the beginning you'll see the diamond, and then you'll see lead and opposing solos, Blue Angels 5 and 6, doing these maneuvers where they're coming at each other in a variety of ways. They'll do aileron rolls, they'll do different things. They're separated by more than it looks on the ground. They're basically splitting the river in the case of performing here in Annapolis. And then as the show goes on, you'll see some other very signature moves. One is what they call the farvel. So the 4-plane diamond, put their gear down, put the hook down. Again, this is a celebration of carrier aviation, so the tail hook matters to land on the aircraft carrier. But 1 and 4 will be inverted, and that's called the farvel. And then you will also see the high alpha pass, which is the airplanes are tilted like this. Alpha is angle of attack, and the Hornet, Super Hornet is what they're using now, can fly very slow with a very high angle of attack. And so you'll see it coming by. It actually defies physics, apparently, that they're flying by in this very slow maneuver. And so look for that. And then you'll see the break up and rendezvous moves that they do. So 5 and 6 will rejoin the formation, and they'll do the vertical moves, again, assuming the weather is better than it is today. And you'll see them do all kinds of what we'll call fleur-de-lis and you know, it looks like they're going to collide when they get back together, and they are separated by altitude and distance, and all the really exciting moves that we look for. The other move I will warn people about, because it's scary if you're not ready for it, is they do the one move where the foreplane goes up and you're watching them, and then number 5 comes through almost supersonic and very low. It's the tactical pass. So the rest is just the precision moves, and a lot of, you'll see rendezvous that are really expeditious, you know, which as a fleet guy, the ability to get aboard the formation that quickly, a lot of G coming on the airplane, and so look for that. And we're talking about G, so the other thing we should note, Meg, is they're not wearing G suits. Unlike fleet squadrons, the Blue Angels do not wear G suits. So that mandates they have to have fantastic core strength. They're in great physical shape. They know how to do proper anti-G maneuvers. And the reason they don't wear G suits is because their arm is resting on their thigh. The stick has 7 pounds of forward pressure at all times to give them not a neutral feel, but a positive feel, so they can fly with that precision. And they don't want, as the G suit blows up and contracts, they don't want their forearm to move. So they don't wear G suits. And I had the chance to fly with the Blue Angels back in 2012, and that had been a while since I'd flown a tactical jet, not to mention it was the only time I've flown a tactical jet without a G suit, and that's quite a workout to stay, you know, conscious as your blood pools during G. You have to really know what you're doing to be able to do that.
You mentioned about the G's and the just toughness on the bodies of these pilots, how in shape they have to be. What are the maneuvers that are really hitting them the most?
So particularly, Meg, the maneuver for folks to watch for is this high G sort of demo they do at show center. So one of the airplanes will, either 5 or 6 will come in and go into full afterburner and then pull this high G circle, do a 360 right in front of show center. And so depending on what we call the atmospherics, you may see like a vapor cloud around the airplane as it compresses the air with this high G. So at that point, the pilot is pulling upwards of 8+ Gs. So you've got to keep the blood from pooling in your extremities, so they have a specific way that they do that in terms of this anti-G maneuver, and they're in great physical shape. So watch for that. And then the other maneuver where they are pulling a lot of G is every time they're joining back up. So as 5 and 6 join back up with the diamond, and you're watching them, not at show center, you know, you'll see them out here, watch for them to just put on the G right at the last second as they get aboard expeditiously.
And I know that these Blue Angels have a whole season of shows that they do. What did they like about Annapolis specifically?
The shape of the venue, meaning the river, is very well defined relative to some of the other places that they fly. So in terms of hitting their ground references and keeping the show where it needs to be, the Blue Angels like flying here. Now in terms of the viewer experience, I would say this is one of the top 5 places in the country that you can watch the Blue Angels. So if you haven't ever seen them before, you should feel lucky that you're able to see them here in Annapolis, because it's just a great place to see the Blues.
That's great. Well, thank you so much for your insight. We're all looking forward to the flight demonstrations, and we'll know a little bit more now when we're able to watch it.
All right. Thanks, Meg. Pray for good weather, everybody.
That's right.